Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners. So, what you're finding here is this is a bonus episode, or a series of bonus episodes, technically, where I sit down with Anna from We're Not Kidding and her husband Grant, and we go through financial planning. Like real financial planning, life planning, their numbers, their life. And what you're going to find is they're like a lot of people. That means you might be able to get a little bit about what the process is for being financial planning and kind of tips and tricks. But this is not advice for you. I'm giving them advice, not you. So this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. There's a series of these episodes. So if you like this one, grab the next one. All right. So let's set an agenda for today. What do you two want to make sure we talk about?
I don't know. I know that sent you the disability insurance stuff, and I saw that the I did submit a quote from the other place you recommended, and I saw they sent that to you as well. Yeah, I don't know. That would be one thing, maybe.
Yep. Life and disability was on my list.
Cool.
Check back. How's the budget going?
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, we were more on top of it this month.
Way more.
And even like pulled up Right Capital a couple times and checked it. Yeah.
Yep.
Were you gonna say something?
We only spent $25 eating out, and it was to go get drinks one night.
All of a sudden, you have all this extra money because you didn't go out to eat every day.
Right.
Yeah. That was a big win.
Yeah.
Felt good.
That was good.
It was just so easy when you have something else, like when you have a comparison, like, oh, I can spend it here or I can spend it here. Just such a no-brainer then.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you have it, but there's actually a Right Capital app you can download for your phone, which they've now updated with a lot more budgeting features. We'll mess with that when you get back. You know, like I'm intentionally going to limit today a little bit because you're on travel brain. So like,
right.
My focus is going to be on the disability and life insurance. And then next, when you get back, so this is Anna's homework for the trip, let's call it that, is we're going to come back and we're going to do small business planning when we get back.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So think about goals, think about what you want to do with the business, models, you name it. But we'll put that aside because I don't want to overwhelm you 3 days before the trip. I mean, come on.
Okay. I did do the question that you had, I think it was a couple sessions back, encouraged me to put out to followers. And so, yeah,
I got to get some answers on that. How'd it go?
Good.
Well, first, what was the actual, how do you phrase the question to them, or where'd we go with it?
I think I copied down exactly what you had given me because I liked how you worded it so much, which was like, how has my work impacted you over the last year? Thought that was really well written. So I just put it in my Instagram stories. I also mentioned it on that episode when I put it in the our session together when I made that a podcast. I got one person who was so kind and thoughtful and wrote me an email. That was really lovely. But a lot of it was interesting to find out because I have the podcast, I coach, I have the Wink Club community and Instagram sort of posts. So I kind of, they're all tied together, but definitely the podcast, I think, was up there in terms of people's comments. Through your podcast, I feel less alone, and that really helped me, or I found your podcast at a hard time, and that kind of thing. So it actually was interesting to be like, oh, well, maybe podcasts should be more of a focus than I had been thinking. And then, what else? I've got my list here. Just sort of my content too on Instagram, just helping reaffirm and validating people's choices. So those were sort of the main themes that came out of it.
So now what we need to do is figure out priorities, which sounds like podcasting might be it. And then also how to monetize it. That's a separate question. But I'm kind of not surprised. So Instagram and a lot of the socials tend to be more kind of like exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I want to actually change people's life, we have to go a little deeper than just here's a reel.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's going to be an interesting debate. Although I bet you if we looked at your amount of time you spend, you probably spend more time on some of the social stuff than the
I
podcast.
used to, but not anymore. I think now I have been putting more time into like um researching podcast guests, editing. I still do all the editing myself. That is one thing that I do want to outsource eventually. Um, but yeah, so the podcast does actually take a lot of time.
Yeah, it's just we're going to get back to return on investment, all that. But if we know that's what's touching people, then if that's your goal, then we drive that.
Yeah.
How often are you doing a podcast right now?
Um, Usually they're once a week, although with the trip coming up, I'm gonna take a little bit of a hiatus now, but get back to it after that.
Okay. So we'll have to kind of find that balance, but we'll come back to that one. It's going to be interesting because now we're going to have to figure out how to get people from the podcast to the coaching and the community and other things. So,
Yeah, right.
okay. I'm not going to dive too deep. I want to dive into that right now, but you're going on a trip. So let's be nice. Uh,
Thanks.
I mean, come on. How much brain power do you have left before the trip? None.
Very
And now
little.
we're going to talk about insurance. And we're going to talk about insurance because it's a must. It's not a option. We need to figure out something for you too. So,
Yeah.
anything before we shift to insurance? Because insurance is really boring. So I just want to make sure, like, any fun stuff we do up front.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think so. I think other than that, we just like also got our taxes to our accountant because you had put that on our homework to get done before our trip. So we did, which was a good deadline to have. But yeah, otherwise I think that's it.
So once your taxes are done, you're going to upload those in Right Capital, and we're going to do a tax planning session. Kind of like, how do we save taxes this year? There may not be much we can do for you right now, but tax planning really looks at over the next 20 or 30 years, how do we save money versus just this year? So we'll look
Oh,
at that because we do it after you file your taxes. So that way we can plan for next year because we can't change last year. So,
right.
so like the HSA and things we've talked about. So, all right, let's talk insurance. So, Grant, it looked like you guys had some life and disability insurance quotes from a while back.
Mhm.
What were you thinking about there? What were you trying to do at that time?
I think we went in there mostly to talk about disability insurance and also over the course of that conversation, life insurance stuff came up. And I think what we found is like, let me know if I'm wrong, but my life insurance is okay. Your life insurance is okay, but could be bumped
Yeah, I
up a
think
little bit.
I was supposed to, my plan, I didn't have all of the information, so I needed to get that to him, and I haven't done that yet.
Okay, so this is when I guess I'm going to publicly talk about insurance salespeople. So you went in for a disability and they sold you life insurance. I mean,
Yeah.
think that through.
And one thing that I was unclear of that maybe you know this, the way that he was talking about life insurance was or disability insurance was it was a type of life insurance. Does that sound ring a bell?
Oh, you're going to cause me pain. Okay. So here's how this works. Remember, just kind of clarity thing. I'm an advice only financial planner. So I give you advice. I don't make any money on any products. I don't recommend anything. I don't have any affiliate. I don't have nothing. And I intentionally do that because you just saw what happens when people make money off of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They try to sell you life insurance because they get a percentage up front or they call it a trail where they get a percentage for the rest of your life. And that's how they make their money. And just going to let you guess, how much do they make on disability insurance? Nothing.
Okay.
Got it.
Wow.
Now, just kind of a reality check on this. So insurance salespeople can call themselves financial advisors because that's not a legal term. That's just a marketing term at that point. They're not certified financial planners. That's a separate certification. They're financial advisors, but they only do is insurance. It's like going to your barber and asking them if you need a haircut. They're going to tell me yes, even though I got none. Oh, you need a beard trim. Okay. Like they got to sell you something. And life insurance. So a great example. You two, the only debt you guys have is the house, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We paid off everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I mean-
while it'd be sad if one of you died, the other one could pay the bills without it going crazy. Now, Anna, you might have to shift your business. So, but
Right.
you probably would anyway.
Yeah.
Reality check of it. And, so life insurance for child-free folks, the only time I recommend it is like, if they have like a weird business situation, they have to do something, or if they have a lot of debt that like we have no other way out, or like you tell me, oh, I want to leave $100,000 to my niece, and that's one way to do it. That's none of those are you.
Mhm.
Right.
So they quoted you like we're going to look at the quotes in a second, but like a $600,000 life insurance, which is the standard 10 to 12 times your salary type routine,
Mhm.
and said, well, this is how you protect your loved ones. Right? Have you heard this pitch before?
Yeah, it sounds pretty.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, this is this. By the way, you ever wonder why people hate financial people? It's because of these type of things. Like it's just, I don't consider them in the same field as I am, but they do, and it's like, it's just a different thing they're doing. It's like going to your doctor, and if he got a kickback for every script he wrote to you, like, oh, every time I give you Paxil, you get, you wouldn't go to that doctor.
Mhm.
But that's
Right.
what it is with life insurance.
Yeah. And he did call himself a financial planner.
Yes. I think you're right.
Oh,
You've got their number.
I was at a conference last week, and there are a bunch of people that like shifted from insurance and came into becoming a financial planner and one of the people I had dinner with was giving me this insight about the inside of what it's like working at one of those insurance companies, which shall remain nameless. And I was like, how did you sleep at night selling this stuff to people? He's like, that's why I got out. And I said,
Mhm.
okay. How long did it take you to get out? 15 years. I'm like, okay. But what it is they make a lot of money on the sales.
Mhm.
I had somebody else, one of my somebody I was working with, that their niece went to work as an internship at one of these insurance places. And as the summer internship, they required the niece to bring 3 of their family members in to get quoted on insurance.
Oh,
I'm like, that should be illegal. Like
Yeah.
an unpaid internship, and you're required to, sell your aunt on it.
Wow.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I don't see a reason why you need life insurance. Do you have any reason you need it?
I don't know. None beyond. No, I mean.
Mm-mm. And I guess my question about life insurance is like Grant and I both have these old plans that I think we figured out your parents set up for you. And then mine was like when I had one of my first jobs in my early 20s. They just set me up on something. So what do we do with those? Do we just keep paying into them? Do we shift gears?
So I'm, excuse me. First thing is you're going to upload a copy of it if you have it into Right Capital, so I can actually take a look.
Yeah.
But chances are it's not something you need. Now, my one caution on this. So like Grant, if at work they have like a life insurance for like $4, fine. Like at that point, I don't care.
Mhm.
Which by the way, that's very common at work. They have like, oh, we'll cover 2 times your salary or 1 time your salary for like $4 or $5 a paycheck. Whatever. I don't care. And I think I had a note. Yours was like, I don't know, supposed to be like a $45,000 death benefit. Was that kind of sounding right?
Yeah, that might be.
Yeah. So how much are you paying per year? Any idea?
I pay 24 a month.
Okay. So we're paying 240. We're paying almost $300 a year for a $45,000 death benefit. Grant, if Anna dies, do you need a $45,000 death benefit from her?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Now, by the way, Anna, we're gonna actually have to look at the policy because, like, how do we get you out? And there's like a bunch of things. And what'll happen is, I think it says it has cash value in there. That is what's called hybrid life, where there's term life and an investing component. And my way of looking at this, so term life says, hey, for the next 20 years, I pay X amount per year and I get out a benefit. That's an insurance product. That's fine if you need it. The hybrid stuff, I look at it like a spork. It's a spoon and a fork together that does neither job well. So you're paying for insurance and investing in the same thing, where we might be better off just taking the $300 and investing it and getting a better.
Yeah.
You've been paying it how long, Anna?
I mean, since I was like 24, 23.
10
Yeah.
years.
And then how many years are you going to keep paying for it? And this is the game. And what people go is, well, but I've paid in for so long. That's nice. Do you want to keep paying it for another 20 years, 40 years, 60 years? So we will add that onto the post-vacation list because I'll look at the actual policy.
Okay.
We'll see what we can do with it. And Grant, you have one like that also?
Yeah, I don't know almost nothing about mine, but my folks set it up. It's not very expensive, and that's all I know.
So I see these a lot, like the parents get the Gerber life plan. This is the one, they advertise for the babies. And I'm like, you just sold a product that, like, it's an emotional buy. You want to protect your baby, but nobody needs the baby's income after they pass. They go, well, but you need to be able to bury yourself. Listen, you got enough cash hanging around to bury yourself. So, shoot, you want to get cheap, you get cremated for a whole lot cheaper, or they have the new ones, like they make you into like mushrooms, they wrap you in a whole cocoon and bury it. And I'm like, hey,
That one, yeah.
composting. I gotta have a joke about all this because otherwise it gets too morbid. But the bottom line is we get sold life insurance. You two did not walk in going, I want to buy life insurance.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
You walked in saying, I want to buy disability insurance. And I'm going to show you what he quoted you on disability insurance. I couldn't even find it. And I found it.
That's why I sent it to you, because I had a time finding where that
because
was.
what he sent you was 5 life quotes.
Okay.
And the disability was in the email and it covers nothing. So I'm like, what is this mess? So, moral of the story, just so you know, anytime somebody sells you insurance or an annuity, which by the way is just an insurance with a fancy name, you're being sold something. We don't go somewhere to get sold. We go buy what we need, no more nor less. And that sounds like semantics, but with insurance, I mean, they start talking and you're like, of course I care about Anna. Of course I want her to have a life. Of course she needs this. And now they want you to pay, it was a couple grand a year to feel that. But really what they want is the commission on the way by.
Right. Wow.
Insurance has a place, but it doesn't fit you. And so I've had some large fights. I was actually working with a reporter on one of the insurance like press things. I'm like, for Childfree folks, I can almost say just don't get life insurance and just make it a blanket rule. And she's like, well, no, there's no way. And I'm like, talk to me through cases where they actually need it. And the answer was maybe like 1% of people, which then in that case, I'd go, hey, you have a special need, go get this insurance. But there's this generic financial advice. You need 10 to 12 times your income in life insurance. That's for the normal life plan. That's for people with kids.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it came up that we didn't have kids at the time. maybe in that meeting, but
Mhm.
I don't know that it ever came up. Like we're never going to have kids.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
it was a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that because like it wasn't even a choice, which is true. Um, for any time you kind of go to financial insurance, any of those, I want you to ask them, how is it different because I'm child free? Now you may have to explain child free means don't have kids, not planning on having kids. But if they go, well, you'll change your mind, just turn around and walk out.
Yeah. Good advice.
Yeah.
And if they go, it doesn't change anything, turn around and walk out.
Mhm.
If they go, I don't know, let's look at it. Okay, I can deal with that. Because at least they're like, let me see. Now, by the way, they may still be selling you. But
Yeah.
if they say it doesn't change anything or you'll change your mind, walk out. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard. And I'm not blaming the insurance people because that's why they make their money. And he probably doesn't have a clue that it's different for child free people, and that's okay.
Mm.
We just got to educate him. Although I have a
Right.
feeling you're not going to want to talk to him anytime soon. This conversation. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Car and a house are in good shape. We
Yeah.
could leave it there.
We'll come back to the car in the house. I need to, and I haven't done it yet. Every 1 to 2 years, you need to shop that price.
Mm.
And same for you too. I always say I need to do it, and then I'm like, this is a giant pain in my butt, and I stop doing it. But like you can save money by shopping every year. But
Okay.
that's a good case where you're buying insurance, not being sold it.
Yeah, sure.
And by
Right.
the way, they don't sell you car insurance because they don't really make much money on it. You can
Um,
go to the websites, Geico or whatever, and boom, and you have your insurance. There's no salesperson. They didn't make commission.
right. Huh.
It it sounds like semantics for buy versus sell, but it's a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's look at what he sent you, just because it's going to annoy me. Yeah, okay. Let me grab my screen so you can see, because it's going to make sense in about 2 seconds. So this is the quote. He said, "For the disability portion, I showed you a coverage of $950 per month. We'll come back to the elimination period. 3-year benefit. It's $20 a month. Now, let me ask you two a question. Can you two live on $950 a month?"
No.
Then that was pointless insurance. What he did was he quoted the lower price on that to get you to look at the
Mm.
life insurance quotes.
Mm.
He's like, by the way, this is what this is. And then what he does is he shows you 4 different or 5 different versions of life insurance at $90 a month
Oh.
for different coverages. And what would happen is if you took this disability insurance right here, it looks nice, $15 a month. The coverage is not enough to help you.
Mm.
Right.
So that's what you're seeing go on. The return of premium, and there's some disability riders. Like there's some things in here like waiver for disability. That just means you're not going to pay for the life insurance if you're under disability. Here's some extra money, so that makes the coverage from 500,000 to 600,000. That's all just selling you crap.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this all assumes you don't smoke tobacco, all that. And then here's your premiums, and here's what you have to do. So it's saying, now watch this, for up to 30 years, you pay $1,000. As soon as you hit 31 years, your premium is actually $29,000 a year.
What?
Okay. What this is, it says right here, 30-year term.
Mm.
So you two are mid-30s. So at 65, you can't afford this insurance anymore.
Wow.
Now, if I follow the math, you in theory should die after 65, not before it.
Mm.
So you paid $1,000 a year for 30 years. And the likelihood of you actually using this policy is small, almost like a tree falls on you.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah.
You see the game?
Mm-hmm.
And then what he gave you was a whole bunch of other versions of the same quote. Well, this is 20-year term, and that's all that is. This one's a different 30-year term. It's all just trying to sell you stuff. So, do you want life insurance?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Disability insurance.
I'm just so by the way, this is one of those that you never get an education on because what you get is whatever they sell.
Yeah.
Their insurance product is what they educate you on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it sounds a little shady, it kind of is. And I'm sure someone in the comments is going to hate on me for hating on insurance people, and insurance has a good place. It does have a place if you need it. If you don't need it, waste time. All right. So let's look at disability. So this is the quote you were sent, but we'll go through it. By the way, insurance companies, we want decent companies. This is a decent company. Really, we're just looking for insurance companies that aren't going to go out of business. You don't want your insurance company to be just like some random Joe's Insurance with no history. So here's what this is. So this is for Grant. The benefit here, monthly benefit is $6,345. Now, if you pay for your own disability insurance, you're going to get $6,345 each month, income tax free.
Mm.
Can you two live on $6,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without taxes, you better be able to. But you see the difference in the coverage. The last one was $950 a month.
Yeah.
All right. The benefit waiting period is 90 days. So what this means is, heaven forbid, that tree falls on Grant and he can't work for a year. It's not going to kick in for 90 days. Now, you two have enough emergency fund, little cash around. If you had to, you could make it 90 days. You probably also could cash out some of your PTO from work or some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't make it the 90 days, that's where we would get short-term disability to cover that 90 days. This is only going to kick in. So essentially you're going to get no money. Day 91 kicks in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The benefit runs to age 65, which is when Social Security would come in. Also, kind of a little fun one, you would get this $6,345, and you can actually apply for Social Security disability and put it on top of this. So the nightmare, I apologize, I'm going to talk about some nightmare situations for a second, but the nightmare situation is Grant has has a stroke or has some type of medical issue right now at 37, and now you guys have to pay bills for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Reality check is Anna would be better off if Grant was taken by aliens and disappeared at that point. No, seriously, caring for a disabled person, you got medical issues, you got healthcare issues, we got, caring issues. Now we have to change this is why life insurance I'm not so worried about. Cause like if one of you died, you'd be okay. If one of you got injured and now had to be cared for the next 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See the difference. Now, this goes to 65. A couple of things in here. This is some rehab. All this. They're saying, listen, we're going to try to get you to go back to work if we can. But what it has, these are riders, we'll talk about in a second, has an option for own occupation. We mentioned this a little bit last time. But the bottom line is, as long as you can't do the job you trained for, you're considered disabled. So
Sure.
I'll give you an example of this. My sister, she's right around a couple years older than you all. She had a fall and she's got a concussion she's been fighting for 6 months. She's a teacher. Teaching with a concussion is nearly impossible. Mm-hmm. She went back, tried to do a half day, didn't work so well. So she's doing like a crafting business on the side. She's actually doing pretty well at it. That crafting business does not take away from her disability because it's not her own occupation.
Sure.
Mm.
If you did not have the own occupation, like you're making $12 at the crafting business, you don't get any disability benefit.
Oh, okay.
You see that this is the old, oh, you can't be a surgeon anymore, but you can work at McDonald's. You don't get any disability benefit. So that's why own occupation is so important. The couple other riders, we'll come back to these in a minute, but let me go over the overall plan. The one that I do want you to see is the cost of living rider. They actually allow every year it goes up by 3%, so that 6,500 30 years from now is keeping up with cost of living in theory. That's important because we've seen inflation right now. It's 6%. It wouldn't cover this year, but over the last few years, it would have.
Yeah.
The catastrophic benefit, I tend not to take this one. This is like, I call it gambling a little bit. Well, if something really bad happens, we'll give you extra money. Well, I really need disability. I don't need to gamble. I'll come back to those. So here's what happens. If you get all the riders, all the add-ons, it ends up at $3,000 a year. That is for $76,000 a year of coverage. Now, that other quote was for $15 a month, but for $1,000 of coverage. So a completely different thing. By the way, it's cheaper if you pay annually. And what we'll probably end up doing is we'll take some of these riders off. It'll come down, let's call it $2,500. So the question you two need to answer is it worth paying $2,500 a year, a little over $200 a month, to protect Grant's income from any type of medical or issue and not being able to get it? What do you think about that? By the way, you don't have to answer it completely now, but let's just kind of get a feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so. I mean, it's like the difference between it's such a small price for having to, for example, totally turn your life upside down to make ends meet,
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, here's how this usually works. That way, most people freak out about the total cost. Did it freak you out, the overall price?
A little for
It's
me.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, I don't know, higher than if somebody just asked me how much. But then when you do consider what you get from it.
Yeah.
By the way, it's usually cheaper if you can buy it through your employer or through like the association of something or another. And as your business kicks off, there's actually I think it's called the Freelancers Union or something like that you'll be able to get yours through. Like there's random ones. We didn't find one for Grant that was under that. The bonus of an individual policy like this is Grant changes jobs, he can still keep it.
Cool.
If you buy it through a company, you switch jobs, you lose it.
Oh, sure.
It's also why if you actually get injured, you don't quit your job first. You get the disability benefit first, then quit your job. If you quit your job before you file for disability, they're gonna be like, you get nothing. Yeah. Which, by the way, is just evil. But it's
wow. Yeah.
So, couple things. If the cost freaks you out, you can actually change it and say, I'm not going to protect myself to 65. I'm going to go down to 10 years. This, I very rarely will have people go less than 65. We can look at it as you get a little older, but not right now. You go to 180-day waiting period, which means 6 months, brings it down a little, but 6 months without a income is really hard. Some people go a year out, and I'm like, you can't afford a year without getting a paycheck. And then that's just the different things here. This is all just blah, 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 blah. Yeah, by the way, you read all this eventually. And the bottom line is you can look at it and say, but some of the things in here that actually do matter. Like if you go on and off, disability covers you. If you lose both your feet, you automatically get it. Like there's random things in there. We'll try to get you to go back to work. When you are on disability, you don't get charged the premium, things like that. The one thing that is in here that says guaranteed renewable, as long as you pay it, you're good. But like if you skip a month or whatever, they can say, we got to do this all over again.
Hmm.
And that's never a good idea, because now we got to
Yeah.
requote it and might be more expensive. Let me see here. This one here, catastrophic. Additional money if you're unable to perform 2 or more activities of daily living with severe cognitive impairment or presumptively disabled. So like you have to activities of daily living, like you can't bathe yourself, you can't cook, you can't take care of yourself. Some people use this, and just kind of one of those things to think, as kind of like a fake long-term care insurance. Kind of saying, if you have a big problem, it'll cover it, but only covers if it's a big problem. So if you don't meet that checkbox, you're not going to get there. So I don't usually use that. But let me pause there and kind of just give you a moment to think. Reactions, questions.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. It is, yeah, I think at the end of the day, what I'm always concerned about is, not always, but I'm sometimes concerned about is somehow being in a situation where I've lost my income, and that has a big impact on our finances. And although it is like it does seem like a lot each year, it also like I don't know, like just as, yeah, I can't really articulate what I'm thinking, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of peace of mind there to feel like, okay, like worst scenario, like we're still in good shape. I mean, not physically or, but, to have one less thing to worry about is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm with you, Grant. The hard part of this stuff is, so if you get the if you get the disability insurance, you get life insurance, it's not going to help you. Get disability insurance and you never use it, you should be happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I couldn't articulate. Yeah. Is that it feels like worth it still.
Yeah. And if you get disability insurance and you use it, you will write me an email going, thank you so much for talking to me about disability insurance.
Yeah.
So like, from my standpoint, it's one of those, I'm like, it's a great recommendation, because no matter which way it goes, you're in a better place. The question is the cost worth it? And that's a judgment call. All insurance is a debate, kind of like, what's the likelihood of it happening? The more dangerous your job is, actually disability insurance gets more expensive. So like, they already do the math. It's just, I don't know. I talk to people in their 30s. No, they still have that kind of like invincibility thing. Oh, nothing will go wrong. And you know what? If you believe nothing's going to go wrong, something's going to go wrong. Just something. It sounds like you're kind of a little more realistic of it, but you two, with where you're at, if you said, hey, it's a little expensive, I don't want to do it, I probably wouldn't fight you. If you said, hey, I want to do it, I'd say, yeah, that's fine too, because it's a judgment call. And really what it is a question of, where do you sleep better? Kind of like, I use that example of life insurance. Oh, don't you want to make sure she's covered when you die? Well, this is where disability comes in, and I've had quite a few clients. Now I'm just thinking it through, in their 50s, who ended up on disability for whatever reason. And the ones that had insurance are much better off than the ones that aren't. And the ones that aren't are on Social Security. And it's Social Security, I'll bet you it'll pay you $1,500 a month or so. Which I'm almost like, you may as well not even pay me at that point because I can't even pay my house bill, my mortgage, never mind anything else.
Yeah. Right.
And what are you thinking? I'm trying to read your face and,
No, I think that I think that this feels like, I know, maybe it's, what is this, our fifth session? To me, it feels like a no-brainer because of the peace of mind is worth it. But I don't know if this was something we talked about on the first call, I probably would have been like, but that's a lot of money. But having us like talking about money so much, and like, I mean, we're still not great at the budget, but we're getting a lot better. I don't know if we're like just slow, but yeah. And I think like this feels like when you talked about the budget as like it's forced adulting, and I feel like disability insurance is just like, it's just an adulting thing. Like it just makes sense.
Yeah. So, pull you behind the curtain. There's a reason why I get your budget done first, get you out of debt, and then I'm like, get insurance. Because really, we're talking about $250 a month if we figure it that way. $250 in your budget is not going to make or break anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot better spending than some of the other things you've spent it on.
Mhm.
Right.
That's the forced adulting about. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, what you're spending money on. And $250 a month. By the way, the way you do that is you pay it up front, and then you put $250 a month aside for next year,
Yeah,
and you pay
sure.
it up front because you save the annual, but you're essentially making the monthly payments to your savings. I like your statement. It is an adulting thing. And I always love people's reaction in their mid-30s because they're like, well, I'm not going to get hurt.
Mhm.
The adult says, I plan for getting hurt or whatever. Somebody when I just turned 40, they said, oh, you hit 40 and like random body parts just hurt. Like middle of, you wake up in the morning and you're like, how did I throw out my shoulder? And I was like, no way. I'm now 45. And like this morning, like I was like, what did I do in my sleep? My shoulder's still cramped. Oh.
Yep.
Grant, any other thoughts, questions?
No, I don't think so. I think that was laid out really clearly, and it is hard to think of like for the benefit, like something else that we could do with that $2,500 a month that would be of anywhere like similar value in terms of like peace of mind and thinking about, I don't know, impact to our livelihood.
Yeah, I feel like before we started talking with Dr. J, or even really like one of your biggest, this feels like at the heart of one of your biggest concerns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So I think that.
Yep. The other one, Grant, and I'm going to connect this back. This goes back to your goal. If you're going to start building that house, well, we need some disability insurance because we fall off the ladder, or like, because I'll tell you right now, Grant, you go to build that house and you fall off a ladder and get disabled and you haven't bought the insurance, Anna will never let you live that down. Is that not true?
Yeah.
We talked about this with Dr. J. We
kind.
knew we should have done this. You're up on that ladder, that stupid house, and you fell off and you broke your. You're laughing, but you know this discussion.
You would have a right to.
We always do stupid stuff. Okay. My wife gives me a hard time about everything too. I have disability insurance. I have my yard has a giant hill, big, down to a lake. And I was on the lawnmower and it died, and the transmission was, so I went over and I messed with it. And it's a zero turn, so you don't really have any steering wheel. It set free, and I end up going wheeling down the hill with no power, no brakes, no steering.
Oh no.
Flying down this hill. And I'm just trying not to land in the pond because like I end up in the trees. I end up like dazed and confused. My wife gave me a hard time about that mower, and that probably 6 months. You're gonna kill yourself on that mower. I didn't want to tell her. I'm like, I probably gave up one of my 9 lives on that ride. Like I'm not sure how I made it out, but it's just guys who do stupid stuff. Right, Grant?
Yeah. You're very, no, you wouldn't rub it in, but you could. You would have a
Yeah.
fight too, and that's enough to, yeah.
Glad
All
you were okay after all that, though.
Yeah.
It took me a little while. I was in rough shape. Mower was a little broken, but that's okay. It's bad when you have to call your neighbor to drag you out of the woods and the mower.
Yeah.
That I was that part of the woods. But all right, so here's your next steps. So A, sleep on it. B, if you want to do it, you got the email, you reply back to Mark and say, hey, I want to do this. Now, just so you know, the company I use, LIS, they're an insurance broker. They're not paid commission. They're just paid a salary to do it. So they don't really, I'm not gonna say they don't care if you don't do it, but they get nothing extra. I get nothing extra. They will put you through a whole lot of paperwork because they have to prove that you're healthy and all that other fun stuff. It'll probably take a couple months by the time you work through all the paperwork. And then you can put the policy in place. So what you might want to do is before you leave, just send an email and say, hey, yep, let's move in that direction. And then you can send a really nice worded email to the life insurance person telling them what you learned and how, he's don't blame you. Dr. J says you suck. And I always have to laugh because I watch out every once in a while. I'll do that spiel on life insurance and they'll go, that's my uncle, right? And I'm like, well, your uncle's still trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good to have like another person in this space who doesn't have like, incentive to sell something to reflect back on what you see. Because otherwise, I mean, they do make it sound so good when you're there. Like, oh, this is what you need to, take care of your wife. And
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more warning while we're talking about people selling you stuff. The other one that I will never let you buy is a timeshare.
Fair enough.
They make it sound great also. My wife and I, we got like the free hotel stay to go hear a timeshare pitch. And I knew it was coming. And we just went there and they had breakfast. And we're eating the breakfast. And I'm like, we're not buying anything. They're like, well, you have to listen to our pitch. And I'm like, yep, you get half an hour of my time. And we go and we're like just eating breakfast and cool. And they're like, I'm like, we're going to leave now. They go, well, no. We need to talk about this. I'm like, we're not buying it. No. Well, you need to talk to my boss before you leave. And I'm like, all right. So you go to the next room. Well, but I'm like, no, we're not buying it. Well, but you need to, did you consider, but I'm like, no, 3 rooms later, they're like almost like made a maze so you couldn't get out.
Oh
my God. I could hear the salesperson. I'm like, I get what you're selling. I'm not buying. But it sounds so good. Well, don't you want to take a vacation every year? Don't you want to have a plan for it? Don't you want to save money on it? And it's all scam. It's timeshares, nobody gets to buy. Life insurance, no, for you. But I'm warning you in advance because you will run into the timeshare salespeople at some point.
Fair enough.
So just fair warning. All right. Other questions?
Not for me.
No, I don't
this
think
was
so.
Yeah, this was super helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So next time we get together, we're going to focus in on Anna's business. We'll check back on the homework items and all that, but by then you'll hopefully have started, some of the disability insurance and keep an eye on the budget. Remember, we set a budget for the trip.
Yeah.
And Grant said he was going to watch it.
And then actually Anna did all the work to add up all of our expenses.
How close did we come to we're in the budget still?
So far so good, actually.
Still under, but I think we'll
have to pay attention when we're there.
Yeah.
But all of our
close.
Room and like board is taken care of.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a lot of the not all, but we have like the bigger items and the must-have things.
Yeah.
And then we can make decisions about food. Food will be the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yes. And vacations, always people do mindless spending, myself included. You just got to find some way to find the balance.
Yeah.
Because I think we set a $3,000 budget, right? Was that the number?
Mm-hmm.
If you ended up at 3,500, whatever. Instead of 5,000, we screwed up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, $2,000 difference on a trip, you could do that in a week without breaking too much of a sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's what happens is people go, well, I already spent so much, so therefore it's okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll hear that, and then you're going to go, ooh, Dr. J said to watch out for that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going
I'll
on
be
your
the
trip
one to
with
say
you.
it, I'm sure. I'll be the one to say it. You'll have to remember or remind me that.
Oh, I don't know. It might be me too. Might be both of us.
What's going to happen is it depends on who's buying the thing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Grant
Yes.
goes to buy something, and you're like, remember.
Yeah, we're kind of enablers.
Yeah, we are.
Well, and then like people are like, well, it's a different currency, and I don't know. Luckily, the euro is like 1 for 1 for the dollar, so you really can't get away from that excuse. Last time I was in Europe, it was like $1.50, 1.5 euros to $1. So you had to do like math every time you were.
Oh yeah.
And then I was in China, and there's like this really weird math, and I'm like, I have no clue what I just spent. Like, you're like, it was X amount of this and that, and you're like, I don't know. So that's what I'm just trying to get you mindful of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I feel like I feel well prepared for the trip.
Yeah, we'll report back. See how we do.
That's going to be a great Instagram reel. $3,001, 3,100.
Yeah.
No, it travel's good. It's just we got to keep it somewhere in a budget.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. For sure.
All right. I'll send you some homework and we'll go from there.
Awesome.
That's all for this week's episode of Childfree Wealth Podcast. Be sure to follow Childfree Wealth on social media, email us at podcast@childfreewealth.com, or visit our website, www.childfreewealth.com.